Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And before I introduce both my guests, I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friend Preston Poulter and his Palace of the Golden Princess, which offers a fun, sexy romp through a fantasy RPG setting run by women. Issue 3 launches soon on Kickstarter, and Preston's throwing me a solid where if you go to his website, pocketjackcomics.com, and sign up for his email list, you could actually download issue 1 for free so you could try before you buy. But enough about that, because I have with me Travis Gibb. There's no S on that. I just want to make that crystal clear. And Jerome, who also is a big part of Orange Cone Productions. So welcome to the show.
And Jerome, who doesn't do podcasts, he'll do like 3 a year. So, I mean, it's a rare get. Jerome is a get. Yeah. He's like getting that famous celebrity who's hot right now. Like that's what Jerome is, because Jerome's hot right now. Ringo nominated letterer. Like Jerome
that's
is
true.
hot. Right
that's
now.
True.
He's
yeah,
hot.
Thank you for having us, Andrew.
No, I'm excited. I always love having Travis on. Obviously, I just met you. Obviously, you've known Travis for a while, and I'm very excited. And this is going to be a fun conversation because you two have Cthulhu Invades Neverland right now on Kickstarter. I think you're a little over a third of the way there last time I checked, which was last night. Yep. But I might be mistaken. So if I'm mistaken, feel free to correct me at any given point. But what is Cthulhu Invades Neverland for those who have never heard about it before and everything dealing with it? And obviously, it's kind of got a bit of a history.
Yeah. Let me shut off my Discord because it will blow up the whole time. But what it is it's an anthology that we started creating in 2020. And the first anthology was Cthulhu Invades Oz. That's what I got my old classic shirt on today. Where what happens when Cthulhu invades Oz. We then did that into Cthulhu Invades Wonderland in 2022 last year, but early in the year, so beginning of the year. And then we're now doing the last romp is Cthulhu Invades Neverland. Wonderland was so popular they got nominated for a Ringo, which is really, really cool. And it's just been an ongoing series that's popped. You know, the last campaign did over $47,000. With over 800 backers. So we're hoping to do the same thing here.
Yeah, so let's dive into this a little bit, because obviously this is, the third in the trilogy. And what is this like for you to now really have done Oz, which did great, and then do Wonderland, and now you're on the final part? Because these are really, I think, the three, major fairy tale, I guess, pillars, for lack of a better word. And so what is that like? Because everybody knows these three universes and the mythos and everything involving that. And what is that like for both of you to be involved in doing this? Because I know, Jerome, you've been involved in a bunch of this stuff as well and have been along for the ride.
Well, actually, for the first one, when Travis explained me what we were doing, I don't think I fully understood until we were putting the final touch to the book. I mean, it's kind of I don't think there's no other anthology that looks or reads like this one, because it's an anthology. There's different creators, but it really reads like a graphic novel. So we had to think it in a certain way that people will feel that throughout the book. So it was it was a lot of back and forth, especially the first one. The second one, although it was a bigger book, I think the machine was well oiled, and it run. I think it went faster for the second one. But tons of people involved, tons of art coming from different people, and trying to make sense in all of this. It's a big job. Yeah.
So let me even add to this, and I'm curious, is that obviously I think you have 70 creators on this book plus, yep. And you have people like Chuck Pino, Russell Nolte's on this, John Westhoff is on that. I think I got his name right. I think Emily Rissetti, I think I want to say is, or correct me if I'm wrong. And I think her dad's also on the book. And then there's just a bunch of other people. Curtis is on the book, and a few other people are on this book. J.D. Calderon's on this book. And so what is this like to have a bunch of different writers, a bunch of different artists, a bunch of different people who are really spanning comics? Obviously, Pat Chan, Jonathan Hendricks as well. I think Cullen Bunn's on this book as well. So what is that like to have, I guess, a vast, not just style, also different life experiences and also different, I guess, stages in their career in comics, both indie, professional, the king of Kickstarter, for lack of a better word. And so what is that like to really have such a unique blend? Because I don't know any other anthology that has that type of blend right now on Kickstarter.
Yeah, our talent pool is amazing. I'm very lucky that I have a good reputation in the community, that I can get top tier talent at anthology prices. Because if you don't know, anthologies aren't great on how much you get paid, unfortunately. Because if we did it right, imagine if everyone was getting paid 300 something a page, which they deserve. We don't have a $100,000 Kickstarter plan, right? So it's kind of wild getting everybody what they need and getting everyone taken care of. But because of that, I have such a great reputation, we get to work with people like Rich Woodall from Electric Black and Cullen Bunn, the madman, Pat Chan, the king of Kickstarter. All these people have been able to do stuff and really collaborate to make this amazing thing that I think is really important to the community, especially to the Kickstarter community. I think that people love this book because it's their one time a year that they get to play with something that they don't own, that they care about, right? So I could write someone's superhero book, and I like it, and I may even care about it to an extent, but I didn't grow up with it, right? I didn't know it since I was born. I don't remember when I figured out what Pan was, or when my parents showed me Wizard of Oz or Wonderland. Those things are timeless classics. These things are going to outlive all of us. And luckily we do this really cool anthology where we get to touch on these and write these iconic characters and put them together in an amazing way. And I think it's the best book on the market. I think it's the best anthology you can buy, hands down. Hands down, it is the best anthology that is made today. And I don't say that braggartly. You've had me on the show tons of times. I don't have that brag for any of my other books, but this anthology is the best anthology. And hopefully if you're a pro, you're voting for Wonderland. But yeah, no, this book is the shit. And you know it too. I'm going to call you out here a little bit. You know it too, because I know you don't back a ton of projects for financial reasons, for all sorts of reasons, but you consistently back these Cthulhu Invades, and you have backed this one.
Then I wanted to keep that a secret. Way to expose me. But
there's worse secret than that, man.
No, my Cthulhu card is gonna have to be revoked. Thanks. Don't worry. You can reinstitute it at the end. But to even go further into this, and one of the things that I think is interesting is that you get top tier talent on this project, but you get also, and I'm gonna just throw Curtis, who is at the beginning of his career. And I think it's very interesting. And I don't think he's going to mind because he does jazz and he was on my show. And I don't think he's going to mind me saying because he's really starting at the beginning of his career. And what is that like? Because that's also something very cool too. And you talk about community. And I think it's very important that, you give people opportunities when you can. And I think that this book, and I think Oz gave a few people opportunities. I think Wonderland gave more because it was a bigger book. And I think this is giving people who I've never heard of an opportunity, and then they're next to some mega talent. And now I'm not going to say, I guess, the way I'm trying to figure out how to say this the most polite way, but it gives them, I guess, a stepping stone or even like a stone to jump onto to get to the next level. And when you talk about community, I think that's something that's very much lacking in comics right now, is that mentality of saying, hey, we need to foster the next generation.
Yeah. Do you want to answer that, Jerome, or you want me to handle it?
No, sure, go ahead.
It's fascinating to me, Andrew. When we started this, the whole goal for me was to get people who, like me, who are a higher tier in a book to help elevate me. That was kind of my intention. Like, I'll be flat out. I asked everyone I know who was above me in the talent pool to be part of this, and they came together. But as we've done these, and as we have a section in the Kickstarter that shows like here, watching us rise, and then putting people who are like, now we're like right under the Marvel and DC people because we've worked with Scout and we have nominations and we have all these other things. But while doing that, we also know that other people need to get lifted up, and this is an opportunity to do that. So though we may keep some of the top characters for these characters, we know that people need legs up to get in this book to help build their careers, because it helped us. Cthulhu Invades. I don't think Orange Cone would be where it is without Cthulhu Invades Oz. I don't think it would be where it is today, even further, without Cthulhu Invades Wonderland. And this book sells. Ask any creator who's in this book. If they bring it and put it at a table, they sell. Jerome just went to a con last weekend. He is out. I give him as many as he'd like. He's out. The only person who doesn't sell out of this book is me, because I have them all. I have all the back stock. But everybody else sells out every time they go to a con, and they're ordering more. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that people can get the book and they sell it at their cons. And even though it sells against us sometimes when we talk about Florida cons and Florida creators, it's such a great opportunity to allow someone who has, using Chris, he has one issue of Jazz. It's a $10 small little graphic novel. He now has a big, giant $35 graphic novel. Now we can possibly make table. Right now, he can start doing bigger things and afford to do bigger things, which hopefully will lead to him being able to afford better art and better talent and grow and grow and grow and grow.
Did you also feel, sorry to cut you off, Jerome, you also feel that it's exposure as well? Because at this stage, I mean, I hate to say this, but I feel everybody's competing for media. Everybody's competing for attention. And the idea is that if you're in an anthology and there's 69 other people in that book with you, those 69 other people have a common interest when they're marketing that book to market you as well. And so I think it's very interesting. And I was speaking with Tom Hutchinson, and it's the idea that, you got to share knowledge and you got to lift up and foster the next generation if you want a healthy community. But I cut Jerome off very rudely. So what were you saying?
Well, I just wanted to add on the talent part. I mean, you never know where talent how it's gonna grow. So if someone is talented and we see the talent, we know he has a potential to bring a good story to the book. Talent is talent. So maybe this person will grow in the coming year, and you don't know how it's gonna go for them. So we've seen people blow up, like really level up during the production of the other books. So it happens to everyone.
Yeah, to even talk about that too a little bit, where obviously I think you search for talent to some degree, and also you take specs on certain talent. And what is that like too? Because at this stage in the game, I feel in comics, I'm discovering new artists that I absolutely love, that I've never seen anything they've done before. And I'm like, how was this person not discovered and they become the next generation? I mean, I'll mention some names that I don't think people knew. Keith Garvey is a good example. Son Kumanaki. There's a few others out there that are killing it right now. And so what is that like? I mean, the Bragg brothers to some degree as well. David Boer, those people came out of nowhere and now they're sort of in the spotlight. And what is that like for you? Because there's been people that I feel that have worked on Oz and Wonderland who now are in that, spotlight, and their first opportunity, or one of their first opportunities, was with you guys. And what is that like to be like, hey, this is their first writing gig, and that you hope that they're somewhat loyal and that they return to you to some degree, but you're also there first. So I'm very curious, because you're now not just a guy producing a comic, you're a publisher. And it's a very different, I guess, mentality, I guess.
Well, I don't think you can ever assume that even though if you bring someone new and you you do everything you can to promote them through a book like this. But I don't think you can assume that it's gonna go the other way at some point. It's just you just take a chance, I think.
Yeah, to answer that question, I guess for me, it's all like, sorry, I'm very popular today. It's everybody who does these things or is part of these bigger anthologies. It helps you grow and helps you not. Like, our friend Tyler Carpenter, I know you have him on coming up. I love Tyler, but he got in a big controversy on the internet. The book before, we had Luke Stone. That's right before he came out with Comicsgate. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him. I'm just saying, like, these things happen, from the start, we've had these things go. In fact, I've not been shy about it. Dirk Manning was supposed to be in the first book, and that was right when he had some stuff. These things happen and they kind of affect the book, but what's great about it is we all, we all grow together. We all try to go through these and try to make it. What we've always done is, regardless if you've made art and you've been part of this, we let you continue on. We let you continue. If you made the art, we're not going to take that away from you and stop you. We're going to keep going. We may not work with you further, but we have that. But we're gonna let you continue because we want to be men of ethics. Orange Cone wants to be a company of ethics. If you did the work, we're gonna make sure you get the work and you get paid for the work. Future work, maybe not so much, but doing that, and I think that's got a good reputation. But it's allowed us to have us in a lot of different playgrounds because I think a lot of people respect us for those decisions, even if they don't like them at the minute.
Yeah, let's actually talk about this. So I run a business and I have certain things that I like to run my business, and that if I agree to a price on eBay and then a card, because I buy and sell comics and baseball cards, and the card goes up by 60%, I'm going to keep it at the price that I agreed to sell to you. And because of that, I have repeat business and I try to be as fair as humanly possible. And if something goes out of whack and it spikes, I'm not losing money. I'm just not making as much. And I think that's something that I don't want to say is lacking in our society, but I think it, unfortunately, people are not always like that. And, what is that like to have that, I guess, ethics and just have common business sense? Because I feel like that's somewhat lacking in the whole comic community in a lot of ways, is how to run a business and how to run something correctly and how to do the right thing that may not be as profitable as it could potentially be, but it's also the right thing to do, if that makes sense. And finding that balance. I don't know if we're entering into controversial territory. You could plead the fifth at any point.
I think it's just you just need to follow your personal values in your own business. I mean, I wouldn't agree to work on a book that goes against my values. I mean, so yeah, that's just it. I mean, you need to follow your art and your values and do what you think is good, because otherwise, well, you can do it, and you can do anything for the money, but I don't think that's how we want to do things.
Yeah, I think the problem with comics specifically, and any art, is it's personal. It's personal. So it's really easy to agitate someone because they don't view it as a business. They view this as art that they're putting out into the world. There's very few exceptions of people who've gone to that next level and be like, all right, this is art, but I understand it's also a business and can separate the two. Most people, especially in the indie scene, this is passion, and they struggle with $1 for Jerome is taking $1 from me, which is not the way it is, but that's the way they view it. They struggle with seeing past, yes, you're mad right now on the internet, but will you be mad tomorrow? Right? Did something really offend you? Would you be mad if someone said that by you, or you just mad because you don't agree with it and they're more successful than you or less successful than you? How are you holding that down? How are you holding someone back? And I think that stuff. And then we've learned with social media, if we turn this into pick a person, that person is the villain, this channel would blow up today. We would get so many more views than just talking about the book. We've been taught that if you talk bad about something, it's good marketing, and it works. It produces sales. I can't deny that it works, but if that's what you're known for, those are the fans you're going to bring with you, and they're going to expect more and more of that until you step past that line one day, and then they're all going to hate you and move to the guy who talked bad about you, because that's the way it works. So if you don't have that basic ethics, you're going to go down that road. May not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but it will happen.
Yeah. You've been the victim of it. I've been the victim of it. It's not a secret. It's not that hard to find who's attacked who. And there's a reason why this show is not an attacking show. We actually talk about comics, talk about business, talk about people's books. There's a reason why, and I'm not a fan of attacking, and I've left shows that were attacking shows, and they weren't too happy with me, and then I got attacked for it. But we don't have to go through that. That's a different conversation in a different day. But I think it's interesting. This is why I like Orange Cone, and I don't like everything that you guys put out, but I like the fact that you at least are honest about where you stand. And I think it's a very important thing at this point. And I mean, I've said it before, and I think you know it very well, that I think integrity matters right now in a lot of things. I don't think it just matters in comics. I think it matters in your job. I think it matters in how you function. I think it matters if you're, standing in line in Starbucks. And I think it's a real issue. And you said something, obviously I'm just going to repeat what you said, is that if you did the art and we disagree with you, you're going to be paid for it and your art's going to be published.
Right.
And I think it's a very important thing that you stand by that, because there's plenty of people that I know and plenty of prominent people who have stripped an artist of their name on a cover they did.
Yeah.
They paid them, but they stripped them of their name on that cover. And I think that is one of the most insulting things you could do in comics.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our books, Voodoo Nations, was picked up by a publisher, and Luke Stone was his Comicsgate, and they asked us to remove Luke Stone's name, and Luke and I were not in agreement. We've thought about it, but there's no way I'm going to produce that book without him getting credit. He did the work. He gets the credit. Yeah. It is what it is. I made the decision to work with him, so we canceled that deal, even though I desperately wanted that publishing deal. I desperately wanted it, but it's not right. It's not ethically right. It's not what we're going to do. It's not who we are. We want to build awesome anthologies like this one with all these characters. And
do you think, and I'm going to challenge you, do you think that in the short term, you're going to take a small hit, but in the long term, when you're working with people and they hear this story and they say, look, I might not agree with this person, not a fan of that person. Obviously, I don't have any issue with Luke. I like Luke. I speak to Luke. I speak to you. I speak to everybody. But do you think that people are saying, if he is willing to defend Luke, who he doesn't agree with, and Travis likes me and I agree with Travis and I don't have an issue, if there's an issue, that Travis is going to stand up for me and Orange Cone's going to have my back? Because that, to me, adds a lot of value on the talent you can attract. And also, people might say, look, I get that you can't pay me what I would get at another place, but I want to work with you because, if it's a $50 difference of a page rate, what is $50 in the scheme of life if it's a cool book to work on?
Yeah, I mean, we have that values, but, I've not always the people who I defend have those same values. And you've been in the same situations, but that's okay. I'm not here to police them. I'm not about that, it's no stranger. I don't even know how we're into this realm, but I guess we're digging deeper. During my last campaign, someone tried to cancel me and I chose, though I addressed it, I chose not to out that person because I'm not about just canceling someone. That's not what it's about. That doesn't lead well. And if you can cancel someone, they can cancel you tomorrow. It's just the way it works, if you want to go down that route and do those things. And it's so petty and it's so stupid. And I just want to create comic books. I don't want anything to do with that. I want to make these beautiful anthologies. I want to be acknowledged for the work that I do. I want my team to be acknowledged, and I want to help grow new and better creators by doing that.
Isn't it the idea that if you don't like what I do, so this is how I run my eBay business. If you don't like my prices, you don't like what I sell, you don't have to shop in my store.
Right.
If I don't like, this book, which I do, obviously I backed it, I don't have to back it. There's a million comics. What is there? 250 plus comics right now on Kickstarter, I think, around that number.
What's that?
You know better than I do, right?
There's 512 Kickstarters live right now. Is that the question?
No, of comics. I think there's around like 250, maybe 240.
No, right now that's on Kickstarter right now. It's 512
of comics. Wow.
Yeah,
damn, that's a lot. It proves my point, though, even more, though, is that there's something for everybody on Kickstarter right now. That if they don't like something, they don't need to cancel you. They just don't have to support you. And it's mind-boggling to me in that realm.
And there's no point of hurting people just because they do this same type of work as you do. I mean, what's the point there? It doesn't serve anybody. I mean, if you're a writer and you talk trash to another about another writer, it doesn't. There's no point to that. It doesn't elevate you. It doesn't. It might not even work if you try to cancel the other person. And I mean, there's tons of as a letterer, there's a ton of letterers out there, and when I see their work, I'm excited about their work, and I want them to do more, and I don't feel like there's a competition or something, but I don't see it that way. There's so many comics, like you said. There's over 500.
He was right. He was closer. It's 252. I swear it was 500 the other day. Maybe I'm smoking something.
200 closest yesterday.
Yeah, 252 is the current live projects on Kickstarter.
So there's enough work for all
but
these.
But still a lot. More than you'd get at your comic store in a day,
Yeah.
No. My point is that there's so much content that there's something for everybody. Where if you do not like Cthulhu, or you do not like Neverland, or you're not a fan of there's a project for everybody on Kickstarter right now. If you're into comics or you're not into comics, there's a story out there for everyone, or there's going to be something launching in the next few weeks for you, basically. And I just think it's crazy that we are in such a competitive world. I mean, naturally in the whole space, and you know this and I know this, is I don't back a lot of projects, and I pick and choose what I back. Right. Because I want to pick back people who I really think are good people, who love comics, who actually will deliver their book, which sounds like a crazy concept. I mean, there are people who owe me books from 3-4 years ago, and I'm getting annoyed. And on top of that, I want to know how you treat your artist or your writer or your colorist or your cover artist or your fans. That stuff matters to me in a lot of ways. And also it's just affordability. And if I have the ability to give somebody money who takes care of the people who's working for them versus somebody who's not, I mean, and the story is the same, I'd rather give it to the person who actually is taking care of the people who are working for them. That's just how I feel, and I understand that sometimes agitates people.
Yeah, it's a complicated system, Kickstarter and the politics of it. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. Do you like the book? Do you like the creators in the book? If you don't, that's okay. I'm not mad. Go ahead and do something else, but please support something, right? That's what I encourage people. It's I don't care what you support, but please choose certain things to support something. Try to do it indie, right? This week I read 2 comics so far, and they were both Marvel, and they blew me away, which hasn't happened in a long time. Amazing stuff. If you read Hellfire Gala that came out this week, they did some crazy stuff that I never think of the X-Men that they've ever done. Ultimate Universe. But at the end of the day, Those are few and far between. Where indie, you can try to build a brand, and you could really get behind these names and these people. Like you said, the Bags brother. Who's that next up and coming person? We can find those people by supporting indies and finding books that you like, and find ones of people who are high quality and high caliber.
Yeah, no. And then even going further outside of the Kickstarter realm, but it's adjacent to Kickstarter, and you mentioned this as well, which I think is also very cool about the Cthulhu Invades Oz and Wonderland stuff. You said that obviously all the people that work on it, they have it on their table and it sells at a con. And I think this is the part that some people miss on Kickstarter, is that they do well on Kickstarter, but they don't necessarily understand con game. And they don't understand how to make money at a convention and what sells. And obviously, I know Preston. I don't know how well you know Preston, but Preston does really well, where he picks up some Xenoscope stuff and he picks up some Big Dog Ink stuff from Tom Hutchinson, and he sells it next to his books. And he does well at a con because he's bringing in merch that's not his merch, but it works in adjacent. And this book, with your book, and I think it's really important, is, and it's one of my favorite words, profitability. Where if somebody has it and they have maybe one or two issues out of their book, and now they put out a trade of Cthulhu Invades, Wonderland or Neverland or Oz, they now have another product that people are familiar with because everybody knows Cthulhu. And I think that's a massive benefit that I don't know if people really fully understand how valuable that is, to have a product that is a well-produced product, that is Cthulhu, that is familiar not just on one, I guess, mythos, but 2, 3, 4, 5, or 7. And so what is that like? Because that's the other side outside of Kickstarter that I think we don't talk about in indie comics all that much.
Well, I can say for me, it makes a lot of difference, because it makes a big difference, because I don't.
It's heavier at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think I would do very good at cons if it wasn't for that book, because as a letterer, it's kind of letterer, or I'd say probably editor as well. It's probably the worst job, the worst part of the job, to sell books at cons, because what did you do in that book? I did the lettering. Okay, so what is that? So I need to explain what my part and what I bring to that book, for to many people. So sometimes I just feel like I'm selling books that other people's did. So it's kind of weird. If you're a writer, you wrote that, like Travis, he wrote this comics, he wrote a story, and if the artist, he drew all of it, he can sketch something on the cover or whatever. So there's an added value. But as a letterer, it's harder to get. So, but with a book like Cthulhu Invades on my table, I bring people in, and then I can sell them other books that I've worked on now that they're interested in that big green monster. So it really helps me.
It's interesting because I'm going to use a term. I don't know if you ever heard this term, Travis.
What's that?
A kingmaker.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you're a kingmaker where there are presidents who are kingmakers.
I am. But continue.
but you're bringing economics and you're bringing money to a variety of people, and with this book, and I think it's a very important thing. And you're not the only one who's done this. By far, there are other people who have done it, but the fact that you're doing it and that there's 70 other people who benefit from you when they go to a con and they have this book, and it brings them money and it brings them bread. And you mentioned potentially helping to make table costs back, maybe make more than table costs, maybe make an introduction. Maybe, as Jerome was just saying, he can now sell other books on top of this book. And I think it's a very important thing that needs to be acknowledged. When somebody allows somebody else to make money, and you're making money, that's an overall good thing. And I don't know if anybody's ever actually sort of gave you that compliment, but I think it's long overdue if nobody has.
And I can add to that it can bring people multiple times at different tables, because at the end of the book we have those little signature blocks that people can, if you see someone who has the book at the table and at his table and you already bought it, you can have them sign that at the end of the book. So even though if you don't buy it from that people, but you go to that table and you have your book signed, you get the chance to, maybe the artist or the writer of that story get the chance to sell another of his book instead of Cthulhu, because, well, you just need to sign it. But then, okay, maybe you'd be interested in that thing that I did. So
yeah, let's actually talk about that idea, because I don't know whose idea that was to put that stuff at the back of the signatures, but it's very, very, very smart. I know it was done in Oz. I think it was done in Wonderland. Hopefully it's going to be done in Neverland, but it's really smart to actually create a signature, I guess, wall might be a nice way to put it. I'm trying to think of a clever way how to say this for you, Travis. But if you have a name for it, please let me know. But it's really, really smart to do that on a lot of levels. And the first level that for me is that it makes it clean. It makes it clean, which that getting it signed, the book, and it actually makes it look really cool if you get a bunch of people's signatures on there. So, but you just brought up a great point that I didn't even think about, Jerome, about potentially even if there's a bunch of people at a con, now you can go to their table and you can get them to sign it, and now it's an opportunity for them to sell.
Yeah. Well, they're a buyer, right? If they have that book, they're willing to buy. They're willing to open their wallet. That's half the battle right there. And they're willing to open their wallet for independent comics. So it really helps cons. It really helps build that momentum. People love it.
It started a discussion right away. I mean, you go at a table, you pull up the book. Can you sign it? Okay, yeah. Now there's a discussion right now that started. We do that also in the other anthology, Holiday Spirits, as well. I think it's important to have those pages.
I don't know. I think it's a smart idea. I think it's a smart idea, and I think it's super smart, especially when you have 70 people plus working on this book. I think it's so important. And then obviously, I mean, there's just a bunch of different stories, and Neverland is never ending. So you see what I did there, everybody? See what I did there?
Yeah,
But even to go further and back into the whole story, I mean, what is this like to really complete, I guess, the trilogy, and also get to play in this world and get to really, touch upon Cthulhu, because Cthulhu is the king of Kickstarter in a lot of ways, where Pat did the book Cthulhu funded my Kickstarter. And, this is, I think this is your highest. I think Wonderland was your highest.
Well, yeah, Wonderland's high. Well, it actually puts us, so there's only this number is correct, just for the record. There's only 2,084 people who've ever broken 20K. And that put us in that category. So there's a 20K to 99,999, then 100K to a million. That's the gap there. We're one of the few that's done that, and it's Cthulhu Invades Wonderland that did that,
So let me ask this. What is that like for you as an individual and as a company to be in a group that has produced a 20,000 plus campaign? Because I don't have the numbers, but I know that a lot of campaigns sometimes do 6,000 to 12,000. If you do like 9,000 on a campaign, it's pretty good, right, all things considering. But I know it's really hard. Where, I mean, Paul Gomez, he has a hard time, right now breaking the 2,000 mark. And I think he's going to figure it out. And I like Paul. Paul's a friend, but he's on that road to break, I guess, the first milestone of 2,000, and then breaking 3,000 and 4,000. And so what is that like that you have got that milestone?
I mean, it's a huge deal for us to, hit those milestones. And people, when you're talking about other creators, so a lot of creators you talk to, they're like, I need to hit 10K. That's our thing. That they pick this random number, 10K. So just so you know, because I'm looking at the statistics right now. So between 10,000 to 19-999, so right under a 20K, there has only been 2,055 projects that's made that. Projects, not individual people, projects. So we know half of those are Pat Shan, Larry Niobe, Tom Hutchinson, White Ash, So we know the majority of it. Actually, I don't even think Larry would count because this is Canadian dollars and this is American dollars. He actually may not hit.
No, that doesn't count.
Right, exactly, because Canadian money's not real. But no, so it's not a lot of people who've done that. So that's one of the biggest myths. If you're watching this, even if you don't back, like, get that idea out of your head. There's only been 2,000 people who've done that. Out of the, let me figure out how many projects. The 107. How much would that be? 243. 24.
Yeah, this is why we're writers, guys. And
right. 200. Well, it's always the second numbers when it comes to like in the thousands. So it's 243,000, 240, 100,000. So 243, $176,000 comics projects. I'm sorry, that's not correct. 16,444 successful projects. So out of the almost 17,000 projects, only 2,000 of them has ever hit that mark.
And we could throw Merc Mag in there, Power Hour in there. Like,
Camilla, what's that? Common America, Tyler. You can hit Tyler in there. He's been hitting it consistently.
You can throw Mount Olympus in there.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. Only 4 has ever rated 1 million.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, but my point and why I bring this up is that I think it goes to who you are as a creator. I think it goes to what your values are. I think it goes to the product that you're putting out there, and I think it's very, very, very interesting. And also, if you're delivering on your reputation, I mean, I hate to say this, but reputation is everything.
Right. And
believe me, I've burned my reputation and I've rebuilt it. And it's crystal clear that I've done both, and a lot of people have. And so I think it's really interesting. And there's a reason why I think you're at around like 12 now, maybe.
Yeah, we're at 12. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I checked last night, and then I haven't looked at it since I backed. And I'm going to be pleasantly surprised where we end up. I'm looking forward to it. With this project, and I'm looking forward to reading it. It'll be fun. But the whole thing is that I think it's very much a feather in your cap why you broke 20 and why you did 47,000. And I think it's very important. And the fact that people want to come back to you and want to work with you and want to continue. And I'm sure there's people who were rejected. I'm sure of it. Because you have a certain standard to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think that the people who back us consistently, back us. I mean, we have a Substack that's very, very popular. Every one of our books, if you sub to our Substack, get you a free book, and we have a lot of people who do that. And I wouldn't consider myself a big name to have so many Substack people, but it's great.
So let's say actually take a step out of the Kickstarter, and obviously, I mean, stretch goals are going to be unlocked hopefully, and there's going to be some really cool stuff. And there's obviously a bunch of different covers. I think there's the hardcover. There's the alternative soft cover, and then there's just the physical regular soft cover. Am I missing anything major beyond that? I think
box sets. We have really cool box set with metal bookmarks. People love. Here, let me show you one. People love these metal bookmarks, man. We sell them like crazy. See, they're really, really cool.
What is that like to find products that actually work? Because that's the other thing that's fascinating about Kickstarter right now is finding what works, finding what people want, understanding what people want. Sometimes people love metal cards, sometimes people love, certain covers, sometimes certain people love, UV gloss, sometimes people want glow in the dark stuff, and also like the trinkets, for lack of a better word, or stretch goals, or even what to provide. And what is that like? Because everybody wants something different, but also things consistently work. And what is that like? Because I feel it's always a struggle.
I think you should always try new things. I think the biggest key, though, is, if you're a creator, try to get something that you can afford at the smallest quantity and get it to everybody. I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes, right? They'll be like, cool, I got this really good idea, this Lithigral cover, but I need to order 20,000 for it to be cost effective. So we got to sell 20,000. You're probably not going to do that. Like, let's figure that out. And then for us, for Orange Cone, we have certain brands. So every one of our book has a brand that associated with it. So metal bookmarks are what we do, is a big thing of what we do for the Cthulhu Invades. We've done them for other projects, but it's a big thing that we do. For Broke Down, we had the black and white covers. For Granite State Punk, we have punkified covers that we do. For Voodoo Nations, we do a skull cover that's separate. Try to make something unique, or or have it theme appropriate. For Broke Down, we did air fresheners. It's a broke down car. It makes sense. Coasters is what we do every time for Voodoo Nations. Try to find these little things and don't just reuse the same things. Oh, Travis is doing a campaign. I can get a coaster, a bookmark, 2 stickers, a hollow foil. Like, change it up and make it interesting.
Yeah. And even, I guess, to go further into that, what is that like to also try? Because I was speaking with Tom about this, and a lot of creators, and I don't know how you feel, and I know you back a bunch of stuff. I don't know, and I'm more selective, but just recently I backed a lot of stuff, and I'm slowly increasing. And maybe if I back 6 projects a month, it's a lot. Usually 4 to 6. Sometimes it depends. I mean, I've been on a backing streak lately. But the point is that after a while, if all you have is the same cover artist doing the same stuff, a hollow foil, you have a metal of everything, and you don't have anything new, or you don't have any variety in who you're bringing in, I'm like, I've been here, I've done this.
Right.
And what me and Tom are speaking about, I'm curious what you two feel about it, is a lot of people say, look, I'm doing 14K on this, and I know this is going to get me 12 to 14K. My expenses are 10, and I'm going to net $4 grand pre-taxes. So why would I change if I know the formula is X? And if I try something new, what happens then if I only do 11? And I'm curious how you feel about that, because I get the thing about business, but I mean, I just moved my entire business off of my main breadwinner, and I moved down from 80% of Zenescope books down to 20% in the last 5 months. And that was a big deal. And I haven't really spoken about it. And that could have flopped very easily. But I've become a lot more profitable because of it. But it's also, certain people can't do that sometimes, or they're terrified to. So I'm curious how you feel about that, because I am not producing a book at all. I could speak of the theory of trying new things, but in comics, but I've never done it because I've never produced a book. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I don't think you ever know until you try it. I mean, sometimes we have some ideas and we think it's gonna work, and it doesn't work the way we want it to, or it goes the other way. So I don't know if there's a real answer to that.
Yeah, so in my experience, you've always got to try new things to see if they work, especially in Kickstarter. But I think you got to go both ways, because, like, for instance, can't think, Steph Wilson. There's certain people, every time they do a cover, there's Steph Wilson. So I think there's some standards where you got to be like, we always have this one guy, but I think you always need to leave room for these new guys, Well, and then some of the campaigns are crazy where, like, oh, every cover is done by the main artist. Like, all 3 covers, they're different designs. Like, you don't get it. Some people just do variant covers to have variant covers. A variant cover should be something unique, something special, and trying to find those new people. Think about all the Kickstarters, because Peach Momoka did a ton of Kickstarters prior to being big. Think about how many of those have been able to sell forever, and people have hunt those down. Those covers matter later down the road. So if you pick the right person and you can find those up and coming, I know that that's something that you try to do when you're looking at stuff, finding those up and coming companies to really partner with you, to help you to grow your business and do your stuff. That Zenescope thing is huge news for me. I know that you're a big thing with Zenescope, and I'm sure it's pretty hard, when your customers are coming there and they're used to you having the thing, and then you're like, well,
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, there were two things that happened. And this might put me at odds with Zenoscope, but I have no problem stating it. I don't think Zenoscope. I think they still have it with Paul Green. I think they killing it with Senku Inaki and the Ketchum stuff. And John Riddle is hit or miss sometimes. Keith Garvey is hit or miss with Zenoscope sometimes. And I think that there's a problem where I think that they need some young talent that nobody's ever heard of to bang it out. And I think they need to get more experimental. And I think what's happened is you have places like Merck, you have places like Tom Hutchinson, you have Power Hour, which is Comics Elite, which is not Merck Mag, but they're cousins. And then you have a few other places like Mount Olympus that have gotten creative and have gotten experimental. And then you have people on the indie front just doing some weird shit. And I think what's happened is that there's some Zenoscope covers that hit it, but then there's stuff that doesn't. And so me moving out from there and going to the places that are doing some weird shit, people are like, this is cool. I've never seen it before. Like, what's going on here? And also, when you look at Mount Olympus and you look at Power Hour, they're doing stuff that is culturally relevant. So they'll do a cosplay of Tomb Raider. They'll do the cosplay of Supergirl. They'll do a cosplay of Kill la Kill. And people who are into that are like, I want that stuff because they know it. And it becomes familiarity and just the profit margins just there and it moves quick. And then the other thing too is that what happens is that I have competitors that I think are buying at wholesale and I can't buy wholesale from Zenoscope right now. Where
is it because of because you changed or because of something else?
I don't think I don't have a wholesale license.
Oh, okay.
So and I don't really want to get one. It creates more problems than necessary for me. It because it creates taxation and then it changes the whole structure of the business in more ways than one. And it's more of a pain in the ass than anything else. And it creates a taxation problem. So but there are other places that can get books cheaper and not necessarily at a wholesale level, but not at whole price. And Kickstarter provides me mystery boxes and retail packages and things like that nature. And there you go. So that's what happened with me, but it wasn't an easy decision. But those two things forced. But I think it's very interesting. And I mean, there's a bunch of indie artists who I'm like, these guys are going to be picked up by Marvel, DC, or Image soon. I mean, what is it? I think Narsa, I forget his last name.
Narsa just did it. Ariel just is on her way. She just did some stuff for Ninja Turtles. You know, there's some big people who are right on the cusp.
So there you go, and so that's what I think. But I think the Kickstarter play is where it's at, and I think there's a bunch of people who are beyond talented who don't get the recognition, and that you know 4, 5, 10 Kickstarters later, and there you go. That's where they're at. I mean, Sam Payne. I don't know if you know. What'd you say?
I said that's so true.
Oh yeah. No. Like Sam Payne. Sam Payne is killing it right now, and nobody knows who Sam Payne is. And Sam Payne is a superstar. Just needs one break. That's all Sam Payne needs. It's just one break. And I don't know if Sam Payne's a man or a woman because it could go either way. But I digress. But yeah. So obviously that's up there. And then I do want to back out, and I want to talk about the Ringo Award thing. Because what is that like? Because there's two technically, right? I mean, Jerome, you have for letterer, and that's a different entity. And I don't know your competition in that sector, but what is that like for you? And then for Travis, an anthology for Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and what is that like for you as well? And I don't know who wants to go first. Then I have a follow-up question for Travis about
Go ahead, Jerome.
Well, for me, I mean, it's huge. The talents and the group is great, but the greatest thing I think about that nomination for lettering is that it's for Grand State Punk. That's a book that we're super proud of, and we're really proud I'm really proud to get the nomination for that book because it's so important for us. And the thing is, Travis, I had to fight at some point to keep the lettering as it is, because and some people didn't like it, and we almost had to change it, but it stayed. So that makes it even more. I appreciate it even more because of that.
So to even go further into that, and this is the other book that Travis brags about, is Granite State Punk.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry to put you on the spot and embarrass you a little bit, Travis. You do brag heavily on this book, rightfully so. I might
it's
add.
good.
Because you don't brag about Voodoo Nations, you don't brag about what broke down in 4 dead bodies. You don't really. I mean you're happy and you talk about it.
Sure.
You don't brag about it the same way you brag about Wonderland, Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and Oz, and hopefully Neverland and Granite State Punk. You definitely champion Granite State Punk.
Sure.
And I'm not calling you out. I'm just stating a fact. Because you've done a bunch of books, and that's my point. And the other book you do is Negative Burn. You talk about that all the time.
Yeah, right. In 2007, I did. Yes, correct.
It took you a minute. I did my homework the first interview. I did my homework.
I remember. I was like, who brings that up? How did you know? Do you know my mom?
Oh, man, I spent a lot of time researching for that first interview. A lot of time. That was what, like 5 years ago?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was like 50. You and me both have grayer hairs. But I digress. And what is that like though for both of you with Granite State Punk? Because obviously it was on Kickstarter. It's coming back to Kickstarter. It's obviously in Scout. And what is that like? Because I'm under the assumption that it doesn't really matter how it's produced. I don't know how you count it. Is it more of a Ringo award on the Scout side or on the Kickstarter side, or is it a combination? Because that's where I think is interesting, is that I don't know when an indie book got a Ringo award or even a combination or a hybrid, and that's kind of a new thing, I feel.
So the lettering is for the orange cone version because it's based off the year it's released. So this was to be the 2002. Granite State Punk for Scout was released in 2003.
So you're saying that I could be nominated for the same book twice?
I think I actually was looking at a rule that maybe there's a caveat that it makes it so we can't do that, but I'm going to try. I'll submit. Okay. Can't hurt, right? But yeah, so that's the way it is for that. And then when you talk about Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, I mean, I'm up against Image. I'm up against DC in some categories. We're up against Mad Cave, a Blue Wave, like all these companies who are in Diamond who are producing stuff. In fact, it was embarrassing for me. I don't have a Twitter for Orange Cone, and they've told me for years, and I was just like, "Why? Everybody knows Travis." They were tagging people for our anthology because I didn't have a Twitter. They didn't know how to tag me, so I got to fix that. That's a problem I've had because we were the only ones without the extra tag because of that. But it's such an honor to be honored. I'm going to be there. My wife's going to be there. Jerome's coming down. Jerome and I met for the first time in person this year at MegaCon, and we're seeing each other for a second time because we're up for these awards. So we're going to go and see what happens.
So what is that like? Because when you're up against, obviously, DC, Image, Man Cave, and a few others, now all of a sudden people are paying attention. Right. And attention is good and bad because attention invites sometimes unwanted problems, and it also invites, good things. I mean, I was speaking with Pat about this. I don't think he's going to mind, but when Pat started doing really well on Kickstarter, people started feeling very comfortable to ask Pat for things that they wouldn't have asked him before. And I felt the exact opposite. Whenever people achieve success, my natural reaction is that, oh man, this person has outgrown my stance.
Right.
And I don't feel comfortable anymore asking them for an interview because I haven't grown with them. Even though when they weren't getting attention and they had 32,000 Instagram followers. Now they have 500,000. They've outgrown, and they're not going to remember me, and they're not going to want to come tearing back down, not into the slumps, but to a way lower show that they're probably not accustomed to. And so I had a very different reaction than Pat had, and I'm curious if you feel that way, or if you're like, look, I'm now playing in the big leagues, but I'm also happy to go back down to little league and have a good time at wiffle ball. Like, if that makes any sense. Not saying that I'm wiffle ball, but I still use the T.
There's definitely been an increase in sex bots followers on Twitters, so that's that. But no, seriously, there hasn't been any change for me so far. So, and look, I'm just realistic about this thing. I'm glad we got nominated. I certainly hope we win, but I'm not gonna be mad if I don't win or whatever. I mean, there's yeah. I'm just happy. So far, I'm just happy to be nominated, and that's it for me now. So.
Same. Yeah, it's an honor to be nominated. Like, if we don't win, I'm not going to be super devastated. But I'm fighting to win. I want to win. I think our book deserves it. I think our book is better than the other books that are out there. No offense. I think our book is better. I do, and I think it's a better pool with what some would say a lesser talent pool, which I don't believe at all. I think our people are going to be.
Do you think that I'm going to challenge the lesser talent pool? Do you think lesser infrastructure might be a better word? Meaning that.
No, I think that according to the industry, it's a lesser talent pool. Not according to me. I'm saying that the industry, their standard of talent pool is: do you work for Marvel or DC? That's the extent of the talent pool. And I even feel that way. Like, I'm bragging a lot that Cullen Bunn's in this book, so I'm not saying like I'm immune to it. But I would put our talent that we signed up for Wonderland against any of those other anthologies, because I think we did it better. I think the overarching narrative helped them structure their stories better. And I think we got a hell of a book there. I think Wonderland was a great book. It's probably one of the best books on the market.
Yeah, and just the fact that it's more than just an anthology with different stories told in using a same team, same team. So there's it's really a graphic novel disguised as an anthology, so it's built very differently than the others.
Fair enough. I mean, the point I was getting at, and I'm curious how you two feel about this, is that, do you feel that, because you said the industry standard is, do you work for Marvel, DC, Image, and do you feel that and some other companies as well, do you feel though that is changing? I'm curious at this point, because I hate to say this, but when was the last time you picked up? You just stated, I know the answer on Travis, but I haven't picked up a Marvel or a DC book in probably a year and a half. Anything new, I have no idea. Actually, that's not true. The last thing I read with DC was Justice League Ruby, because I love Ruby and I know it's not canon. So I know there's nothing that's going to ever be brought into the real world of DC in that book. And it's 7 issues and it was just a fun read. But beyond that, I have no idea what the hell's going on in DC. And it's been a year and a half and I have no desire to go there. And I'm not touching Marvel anytime soon. And I'll touch an Image book here and there. Like, I'm reading Saga, and that's it on mainstream. I'm reading a lot of stuff that are off weird books like The Black Dahlia, or I'm reading some stuff that Anthony Bourdain did a few years back, and I'm reading a lot of manga. And so I don't know if that term is outdated, and maybe the rest of the industry has to catch up. I don't know how you two feel about that, but I kind of sort of laugh at this statement a little bit, that the industry's like, do you work for Marvel or DC? Because to me, that's kind of, I guess, dead.
Well, each of us, we won't deny our love for Marvel, and if they offer us a gig, we'll accept right away. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
we're there. If anybody knows anybody, we're there. Here's the thing. I think that standard needs to stay, and not that I don't agree with what you're saying. There's a low barrier of entry on Kickstarter, and you know that. Like, in the books that you get are various levels. Like, there's one right in my armory, so I'm not going to grab because I'm not going to put someone on blast. That is an unprofessional book, right? It's an unprofessional book, and then I get stuff. I will put the good stuff on blast, like Tart. I get Tart, which is a professional, amazing thing by Kevin Joseph, which needs to be in comic stores. So there's a low barrier to entry. So there needs to be some sort of barrier to entry. And then the other thing, where you talk about these egotistical creators, these younger creators coming up, and this is where you're going to get me to rant for a minute. Someone else needs to tell you you're good, right? You can't, like, doing your Kickstarter self-published. Someone else has to give you that validation and publish your book. I'm not saying you're not good on your stuff. I'm saying to get to that next level, someone else has to go, not only do I think you're good, I'm going to take that book and I'm going to try to make some money on it because I think you're worth money. Right? Like, there is that validation. So I don't think there's a way to unvalidate all that stuff, but I do think that people underlook the talent in Kickstarter and they go, oh, that's just a Kickstarter book. And I was like, I read a lot of freaking comics, and some of my favorite books that I read every year are Kickstarter books, like a Tart or a Dig or a Wailing Blade or White Ash, or Destiny York. Those are great books. And they, just because they have the Kickstarter logo on them, or just because they came from Kickstarter, doesn't mean that they're not as good as an Image, DC, or Mad Cave or whatever.
And you need those to keep a certain dream alive as well. It's like in sports. I mean, you have the pro leagues and you have the junior or the college leagues, and there's pretty good levels. They're talents and good athletes in junior and college leagues, but they all dream to go to the pro league. So there's always that step that you want to you need to dream of to go there. So, but many of us will never reach those steps, but who knows?
I'm gonna.
It'll
probably be like
I just want to do one book, just one book at DC and one on Marvel, and I'm good.
I'll probably get Spider Ham, but I will. I'll do it.
We're gonna would kick ass on Spider Ham.
I'd kill Spider Ham all day.
I don't know. I want 6 issues, Teen Titan West, DC Black Label. I already have the story. It'd be just 6 issues, and oh man, it would be fantastic. It'd be a blast. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't be your mama's Teen Titans. Is all I'm gonna say. There's a reason why I want to go West Coast, not East Coast. Teen Titans West. Oh my gosh, just so many things. Bumblebee as like the team captain. Oof. Oh my gosh, I gotta have a field day. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away. I would kill
if you want to buy one DC book, buy Nightwing.
Yeah, Nightwing's so good.
Yeah, and it's weird because I never liked Nightwing. I always thought was like boring character, but that run I just can't get enough of this one. So that's the one you should read
for sure.
I'll look into it. I mean, honestly, I just don't have a desire. I don't have a desire to go back to mainstream. I just don't. I mean, you really have to sell me on it, and I just think there's better stuff. I mean, look at Born of Blood. I mean, by Merc Mag, by Dolan. I mean, that book's awesome in so many ways, and it's like it reminds me of 300, but just not as intense. And more dialogue and more social political things going on during that era versus we're going to go on a march and us 300 people are going to go take over like the world. It's a little less of the gore and a little bit more of a talking. It's a nice way to put it, but it's done beautifully. And they do awesome covers and they do awesome story. and it's like my favorite Merc book. I think it's their best product, hands down. And that's nothing against Jamie Tyndall. That's nothing against anybody working for them. But that's their best product because it actually works. And that beats any book on DC right now and any book on Marvel, I think. But that's just how I feel. But it also hits a different niche. That book doesn't compete against Cthulhu because your book and that book hit two different things, and I'll spend money on both of them. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. But like DC hasn't earned my money, and I hate to say this, but I think that they're going after movies, television, merchandising, and video games because that's where the money's at right now. I hate to say it, but video games are the biggest entertainment right now. The reason why Activision was bought for $70 billion.
That being said, though, they have said, and I'm not sure how it translates, that there has been a 30% increase in DC sales since James Gunn took over, which shouldn't affect the comics in any way, shape, or form, but he got credit for it the other day.
Right time, right place.
I guess.
Don't worry, we could have Peacemaker in there. I'm a huge John Cena fan. I'm sorry.
He's in Mortal Kombat. Whoever thought Peacemaker would be in Mortal Kombat? So, it is. And Guardians of the Galaxy wouldn't be as popular without James Gunn. So James Gunn has impacted the comic community, but not in the way they're saying.
Hey, you know what is any good positive momentum is good momentum, right?
Right.
But obviously, I do want to back out of all of this,
okay.
and I definitely want to talk about a few other things that I think are very, very important. But my follow-up question is that if you win the Ringo for Wonderland, is that just for you? And are you going to keep it, or are you going to break it up into little pieces and send it to the whole team?
I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's actually an award. I don't know.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a small plate with there's an art piece from Mike Wieringo.
We'll get a little sticker, and it'll be right here forever. I'll tell you that. Oh well, and what's cool, something you didn't know, that Jerome actually did like a Ringo, book called Telos. He actually worked on it. It's one of the first things he did, which is really cool. So it's for Jerome, it's even more full circle. Like Jerome's kind of worked with him.
Well, the funny thing is that the first comic convention I ever went to was to Baltimore Convention.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I didn't knew it was a gift from my girlfriend for my 40th birthday. So, and what we didn't knew before going there, it was before the week before when it was the official launch of this book, right there with all the creators. So I got all these signatures, and now I'm going back. A few years later, I'm going back to Baltimore for the Ringo event. So that's crazy. That's wild.
That is wild.
And then I do want to talk about a few other things. And obviously, I do want to talk about Tinkerbell. I don't know what's going on with her. I know. It might be a sensitive topic, so it might be a 5-pager. But there's an issue with Tinkerbell right now.
What's up?
Don't you need like the 5-page story?
Well, so we have a Tinkerbell story in there. But when I was putting together the book, I was like, you need more than just one 5-page story. Because the way we do these things is we segment characters, and then if it's a main character, we let them appear sometimes. So like you can make Peter Pan appear in a flashback. That's okay. And stuff like that. So, and no one just touched Tinkerbell in those flashbacks. They just didn't. They used Peter Pan or the Darlings or Lost Boy, but they just didn't. And I was like, no, Tinkerbell's a fan favorite. Like that woman gets her own TV show. She gets her own stuff. So I did it. And instead of just hiring people, because I could just hire people. And if you're watching this, guys, I don't need to put submissions out. Just so you know, I could just ask people. but I want to build community. I'm a community leader, so I put it out on Twitter, and my Twitter blew the hell up that we're looking for a 5-page story. And I've got a couple of options that I'm looking at right now. But yeah, Tinkerbell is so we're gonna get another Tinkerbell story in there, so you get a little bit of Tinkerbell. And there's a bunch of Tinkerbell mentions, but like I wanted to give the fans who pick it up, because I know if I was reading a Peter Pan book, if I only saw Tinkerbell in the one story, and I'm not spoiling that story, it's not so good for Tinkerbell. So she needs another adventure.
Well, I think you can tell that the real reason is you want a sexy cover.
Is there a sexy cover? I actually, I'm going to be honest, as we're now live, like, I really do wish I got like a Zenoscope Tinkerbell type cover, because you can do those pretty easy. Like
I was joking, but
well, we've had Alice and we've had Dorothy. You can do that, but you're forcing sexy on them. Yeah. Tinkerbell's always been, she's always wore short dresses and pixie cuts. Like that's her thing, right?
Isn't it in the movie that she goes in front of the mirror and she's checking herself out, and then she gets a little self-conscious. Right. She notices she's got some hips.
Right.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene.
Yeah. Again, unlike Dorothy, unlike Wendy, unlike Alice, those people have made them sexy. Tinkerbell has always been sexy.
Well, I brought it up because I thought it was funny. I thought, but it's very cool in that front. But I do want to back out of all of this, and obviously there's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of people working on this.
Talk for days, yeah.
There's 70 people working on this. A bunch of them I know. But I do want to talk briefly, and you can explain what's going on with Orange Cone, because I know there's some stuff going on with Holiday Spirits, I think Volume 3 or Issue 3, or Anthology 3. I know that I don't know if it did expire. Is that coming back or no?
Expired just funded and did it. Yeah, we just had Issue 2 just delivered, and everybody's got it.
I don't know your full schedule. That's what I was asking. And then I know that you have the third Granite State Punk eventually coming to Kickstarter. I know that the second one I think is going to be out with Scout a month before or a month after. I forget the order.
In October. They'll probably be very close to each other. You know, right now we have a slate of 5 books that we somehow have to get on the Kickstarter schedule for the end of the year. I don't think that's going to happen, but we got 5 books. Those 5 books are, in fact, I'm going to say the name, a book called Hospice, that there's some teasers going out. I can't tell you anything about that book, but we've teamed up with other studios to do something really cool. So that's out there. So if you've seen Weird Cryptic Messages, keep watching them, because there's some cool stuff coming with that. We've got Granite State Punk 3. It's called Granite State Punk: The Coven. We've got Voodoo Nations 4, which is completely done, sitting in a folder, ready to do it. We've got obviously Cthulhu Invades Neverland, and we've got Holiday Spirits 3. So that's the 5 books that Orange Cone proper has, and that's not counting another issue of No Contest that we'll have this year, and Collective. Yes, Jerome. Sorry. Cool. But it's not written yet. If it makes you feel better, probably won't be till the end of the year.
Yeah, sure.
So the reason why I bring this up,
and Coins of Judas.
Coins of Judas, the Gambler.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Federalist, if you can get that done.
Yeah, and I have to finish up Dead Kingdom as well for my.
That's not an Orange Cone book. I don't know what you're talking
about. No, that's not Orange Cone, but that's my business.
I know Coins of Judas the Gambler is not an Orange Cone book. That's Band of Bards, right?
It is an Orange Cone book. It's just published by Band of Bards. It's, if you open the book, it says Orange Cone inside. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. that.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's interesting.
It just went direct to direct market.
Yeah, it just went direct market instead of to Kickstarter. But yeah, it is an Orange Cone book. Yeah, it goes. It's labeled as such inside. Same thing as No Contest. It's an Orange Cone, like No Contest and the Collective are Orange Cone not published, but like produced books, even though they're not published by us. There's kind of a different. We have produced or published.
That's interesting. Again, I don't know anything about this. I haven't produced a book, or written a book, or done anything in comics. I've just sold a fuck ton of them. Because I like this little thing called money. It's a problem. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. But anyway, I am curious, what is this like though? Because you do balance a full schedule with these books, and you hit a lot of different markets. And I think it's both, could be a blessing and a curse in certain ways. Managing all that, and obviously it's a lot of capital that you're moving around. And God knows I know all about that in the last 5 months with my expenditure and how stressful it can be. And so I'm curious what that is like for you, because I think it is a real skill to be able to create comics. And I think it's an even bigger skill to be able to manage the financials of it and running Kickstarters and doing the marketing and making sure that everything is running as smoothly as humanly possible, because logistics and operations is so fucking hard.
It's Jerome. That's the secret.
You sure?
You just get a Jerome and you're good.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't know how we achieve all of these, because we just line them up one after the other, and yeah.
We didn't mean for this to happen.
Sometimes it's just chaotic.
Yeah, it's insane. This year's been insane. In fact, believe it or not, this is only the 4th Kickstarter for the year. And it's because the direct market kicked our ass. Heather, myself, Jerome, and Tyler, we worked endlessly to try to figure out the direct market, get it there for both Coins of Judas and Granite State Punk. So I'll add Patrick to that list as well. Figuring out how to contact stores, do all that. I've never done that before. I know how to do Kickstarter. I know how to get on some live shows. I know how to post it, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get that. And I know that my numbers are better than other people's. So I know I did work and stuff. But the only way I'm going to be a household name is by getting into comic stores. So I've got to figure that. And that's the tough part, right? Like you talk to a Tom Hutchinson or Pat Chan, they're just like, F the direct market. We're done. Like we can make all our money here. Cool. You've already done that. You're bored with it. I'm not, right? I want that. I want that. I like it. It's so exciting to me that everybody who went to the comic store was so happy of my achievement for Coins of Judas or for Granite State Punk and sharing these pictures, how they loved picking up at the store. That meant the world to me. So building that momentum. So Orange Cone, we're producing a lot of books, and it's really tough on us. Anthologies take a lot of work. Our single issues, I think we've got down pack, but it's how we market those single issues can be really tough. We're still wrapping up Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies. That Kickstarter has been done a month, and we're normally way faster than that, but it's just timing. We don't have time for everything. But
let's actually talk about that, because I mean, and I'm going to say it, is that it was tough. That campaign was tough.
Yeah.
That campaign was tough. It was not easy. I mean, I was speaking to people. I'm like, this is going to go one way or the other where Travis might not make it. And you weren't the only one. And, I obviously you're friends with Tyler. I'm friends with Tyler. And he talks a lot about marketing. And I think he's got some fair points where if your campaign is struggling, and I think Pat said it too, Tom has said it too, is that if your campaign is struggling, maybe you ought to look at why it's struggling. And maybe it's not the market. Maybe it's the way you set it up. Maybe it's the way you're approaching things. But it could also be that there's just a lot of good shit out there. It could be that we're in a rough economy. I mean, for those who don't know, the rates were just hiked up by 0.25%. So by 0.25. So there's a bunch of shit going on in the economy where money's tightening, money's loose, depending on global liquidity, what that looks like. And so what has that been like? Because that campaign was brutal, I think, where you are well known and you should have had a much easier path, in my opinion. And I understand that there's 2 issues going on. It's new shit versus old shit. What was part of it, but also it was just a lot of shit's out there. And, I think money's a big issue. And it's kind of like, what are you going up against? And, what was that like? Because it was confusing to me, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's kind of been that way all year. To be honest, on Kickstarter, it's not been easy this year compared to last year. Last year was way easier for us. But I think it's just the trends, right? And the negative of Kickstarter is it takes about a year to make a book, so you can't always opt to the. We're not all Pat Chan. We can't just change our thing for the trends. So the trends right now are more happy. People want more happy books. They want things that make them feel good. Versus, when I started, they wanted horror and and the reason why they want that is we just got out of COVID. Like people are going back out. They want to feel good. They've felt like crap. They want to have more fun. That's why Barbie's doing so well. I know Oppenheimer's doing well as well, but that's why something like Barbie does really well. That's why Mario Brothers does so well. We want positive, happy things. That's why Guardians of the Galaxy still, even though Marvel movies are going down, Guardians of the Galaxy stayed up because it's fun. People want to have fun.
Top Gun did great.
Yeah,
Top Gun was a fun movie. It was a fun movie. Maverick was a fun movie.
Yeah, so people want fun right now, and unfortunately, 4 years ago when I did Broke Down 4 Dead Bodies, it wasn't a fun. It's not a fun book. I mean, I think it's fun because I like gangster stuff, but not everybody feels that way. So I think that's bulking those trends, trying to figure that out, trying to build it. There was also a lot of outside drama. I will say this: I never thought that it was going to fail. But I didn't think I'd have to wait till the end and have my friends rally behind me. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do that, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. It's a trade. This is the first time we've done a traditional trade. So we'll figure out what works on the trade, and we'll try to do that better in the future when we have the Voodoo trade, because that's the next real trade that we have together. We don't know how to do trades. We know how to do graphic novels, anthologies, and we know how to do single issues. We don't know how to do trades. And Broke Down showed we don't know how to do trades. And it also could be we waited a year. Broke Down finished in 2021 and we didn't launch it until 2023. It could be just no one cared about that property anymore. They're like, Travis, you've made better shit. We like your better shit.
And maybe, I think for me, doing a Kickstarter with stories that we already published through Kickstarter, I think that's a first for us, and I think maybe that's hard. And also, Travis knows as well that crime is like the least favorite genre in comics, so that makes it harder as well. So those two factors, I think, were the main factors for the how hard that camping was. And as for the rest of the year, we made that kind of hard for us because we did a kids book. We believed in that book, and we all think that it's a great book. But doing kids book on Kickstarter is the hardest one, because you're not selling to the customers. You're selling to someone who takes the decision for a customer. So then you sell to a third party. But so we did that with what were the other ones? We did Expired with
we did Expired. So this year we did Expired, No Contest, a collective, and then we did cottage cheese,
Yeah. And No Contest and the collective are not our biggest campaigns,
right? And they're not really even our campaigns.
Yeah, so
we don't get the money from it. That doesn't help our bottom line.
So we did tons of campaigns, and tons of books this year, but few of them were real Orange Cone books.
Yeah. This back part of the year is going to be really our stuff, where we get the Granite States and the Hall of Spirits and the Cthulhu's. Hopefully we get to Voodoo, but it's not looking good. So trying to figure out all those things,
Yeah.
No, I think that it's tough. It's not easy. I just went through a big business expansion, and I didn't incur any necessary personal debt, but I cash flowed the whole expansion, and it's not easy. And this is a brutal industry. It is brutal, and I am dealing with a component on the back end. I am not dealing with, creation and figuring out and having fickle people. I get the option to sort of get a sense of what's happening, and it's a privilege, but even in my world, it's complicated. So I can't imagine. And there's a reason why I'm not producing a book. I just went through a $25,000 plus expansion, way less than 25K, but that's what the value of the merch is. And it will sell through, but it's brutal. It's brutal. So I have a complete understanding of it, expenditure of capital to so many degrees on what you probably spent to produce those books. So I have a complete understanding of how stressful it can be, but I have the privilege that I get to see the market, and you guys are creating the market. So there's a difference between those two. But I digress. We've been speaking for an hour and a half. I'm sure that we could speak for much longer, but I do want to give you guys a chance to promote both yourselves, where people can find you, where people can hit you up, where people can go disturb you, people can back the campaign. Obviously, I want this thing to fund in the next week, so you could be less stressed out.
Right.
So where could people obviously back the campaign, find both of you, follow both of you, vote for your Ringo Award, pester people about the Ringo Awards, put pressure on other companies to back down and terrify them and just give it to you and surrender and defeat.
Right.
Go right ahead.
Ringawards.com. If you're a pro, you can back out, you can support us. I think you got a couple more weeks to do that. We'd really appreciate it if you could do that. TravisGibb.substack is where you can find me to find out all my cool stuff. And then the third thing that you can do is go to CthulhuInvades.com, and that's how we get the book.
What about you, Jerome? You got anything you would like to promote?
Well, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but RingoAwards.com. That's for sure. Ringo.com. What's that address?
Ringoawards.com.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. So yeah, go vote for Cthulhu Invades Wonderland for best anthology, and for myself for that ring for. Would really appreciate that. And Cthulhu Invades, CthulhuInvades.com. That's where it's at. That's what we want to we want that funded so badly. So if you can go on pitch in $1 or 100, I mean, yeah, go do that. Go to CthulhuInvades.com, and you can find me on Twitter. Just find Jérôme Gagnon on Twitter, Facebook, and I'm there.
And then I've been saying it, I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support indie. And what that means is backing people's campaigns on Kickstarter or any other crowdfunder. Furthermore, if they are not on Kickstarter or crowdfunding book, but they have it in a direct market or on their website or Patreon, a Substack, whatever it is, you should absolutely back it there. Or if they are in a store, you should pick it up in a store, because that's also very, very important in a lot of ways. And furthermore, going beyond all that, following people on social media, subscribing to email lists, Twitter, Facebook pages, Instagrams, TikToks, all that stuff matters because it makes a huge difference in a lot of ways. And it does it's extremely important at this point. And as far as I'm concerned about me, usually my stuff is at the bottom, but when I have 3 people on, unfortunately it gets blocked by somebody. But I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter. I am Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. I am Pop Anime Comics on Instagram. I am Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. And I do release daily TikToks of segments from my interviews, so please check that out. And YouTube, if I didn't already mention it, is Pop Anime Comics, so subscribe there. And I do have Buy Me a Coffee if you want to support independent media. It's not necessary. And then my eBay store for really cool comics is up in the description as well that you can check out. But that's everything that I got, and I'm gonna let one of you have the final word.
Go on, Travis.
Please support us on CthulhuInvades.com. Even $1 helps. It gets the algorithms of Kickstarter to help put you on the recommended list. So even if you're like, hey, this book isn't for me, I don't like Cthulhu, I don't like Peter Pan, $1 would help all these creators because you probably like one of the creators in the book. So even that $1 would just help the algorithms, and that would be such a big help for us.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better myself, everybody. And I believe that is a perfect place to end this interview, and that is a wrap.